Hello, everyone. Spiros Dimitrakoulas here of Orthopedic Reflexology. In a few days just a few days, in a couple of days, will be the conference for the ICR in Athens 2025. And in order to rather to save up on some time for my presentation and workshop, and in combination with the fact that there are some things about Greece history, medical history, things related to reflexology, interesting stories. I think it's a shame, and I did want to save time, so I'm making this video in order to share this information for those that will come to the conference and attend the next days. To all my students of orthopedic reflexology from the past, I think you'll enjoy this and it will complement your existing knowledge. To the students I will have soon enough after the conference, and in the future for those that are interested in coming to Greece, are reflexologists, even training in orthopedic reflexology if they want. So welcome to Greece, we will be saying to you, but we must consider that we could be saying welcome to Hellas, as you see on the shirt of Yannis. And you can see on the shirts and the jerseys of all players and women and men for national teams of Hellas or Greece. Of course, it's very common to use the term Greece, Greeks, and it's okay also. But the original, let's say, name to be used, the official would be Hellas is the country, and Hellenes are the Greeks, all right, the citizens of Hellas. And that's why you see it on our national teams' jerseys. The reason for this has to do with the area of Greece I'm showing you with the blue arrow in the middle of Greece towards Italy, the Ionian, and this place is called Dodoni. Athens, of course, is with the white arrow, just for reference. And observe all those spots on the map. Let me get my face out of the way in Asia Minor, and possibly on the other side of Italy would be sanctuaries, famous sanctuaries, religious spots, oracle places like Delphi, and healing would happen there. So they would be Asclepia, we will say, from the god of medicine, the son of Apollo, Asclepios. We call them Asclepia also. And ours is of interest in Dodoni, and it would be a temple dedicated to Zeus and his, according to this tradition, Dione, his partner, this goddess. And these places would be very idyllic, very beautiful, as all sanctuaries were considered to be back then, with the exception of the Spartans. Theirs was the total opposite. But here we see the ancient theater at Dodoni, and there are other monuments around. Now, what makes it interesting is that there was a tribe of people there, and their name was Seli, Seli. And over centuries, it seems, and we find it in Homeric texts, the Iliad, they are called Eli. This changes, the S becomes Eli. And from this, Aristoteles writes in one of his books, in Dodoni are the ancient Hellenes from these Eli, these priests. Now, having to do, besides the names of these priests, what was their job over there in Dodoni? And their job was to be oracles, and they would interpret the messages from the gods, the signs, and these signs would be wind chimes hanging from oak trees. So the priests would be underneath, and the way that the wind would move the chimes, they would make noises, and they would interpret these noises, or the flow of the river, the waters passing by. But most importantly, because that's how they're described in the Iliad, they had dirty feet, and this is why they would walk barefoot purposefully, on purpose. in order to receive the vibrations, shall I say, the messages, the communication with the gods, and to feel the ground through this, and even lie on the ground, connect, and as oracles inform people of what was going on. So this is why we are called Elas, and the citizens of this country are Elines. It's all Greek to me. People have this saying, but is this the case? And if we look, we have this word, try and say it, reflex, ologia, ology, diaphragma, diaphragm, scaphoides, the bone in the foot and the hand. The scaphoid it's well known. Urethra, you will say, we will say urethra in Greek. Pneumonia, pneumonia, I think, in English. Pancreas, we will say in Greek. And metatarsia, the metatarsal bones. A lot of similarities. So I just want to bring to your attention, in many areas of life, you are using already Greek words, and even new words in anatomy and other sciences are being created because language is considered something alive. And it's still based on the Greek language and, of course, the Latin. Why is it orthopedic with an E versus orthopedic with an A? In each case, ortho means that which is correct, or that is means to stand upright, like Lynn Booth's vertical reflex therapy. Now, the difference is in the pedis. With a knee, it means the feet, to stand on your feet. Contrary, where pedis is written with the A, this is child. Orthopedic, in this case, means to stand a child upright. And this all began with a surgeon, a doctor, French doctor, Nicolas Andri, in 1741. He wrote a book then after doing some procedures on children. And in order, it seems, to respect history, because from the text I've seen, at least on the internet, I haven't seen an original, it's written with an E. So it's inclusive of all categories of people. Well, this one, written as a child, respects the historical fact that the first procedures were done on infants. So this is, a debate between the associations and the doctor members of these associations, which one to use. In my approach, it means for someone to stand on his feet, anyone ortho on their feet. They must have healthy feet. And yeah, that's in orthopedic reflexology, that's something we consider. Medicine begins with the figure on the left. He is Apollo, with his sister, twin sister, the archer god, and his sister Artemis is the archer god. It's interesting that of the twins, Artemis was born first, and she assisted her mother to bring labor to Apollo. So it's kind of, according to one of my teachers, Alexandros Stilikidis, it's like, from the primitive medical knowledge, the woman, the female energy, even in birth, will assist the doula naturally. And this is symbolized by Artemis. And then she helps to bring this, the masculine figure, or the constitution, or the energy. This would be the thought process. The changing of medicine is slowly. Some people believe it's like this. You see him with the guitar in his hands, and in this case, he is called Apollo the guitarist. He is the god of the sun, like in the Scandinavian countries, Sol. He is referred to, and in many nations, ethnicities around the world, in many cultures. But we also see the snake symbolizing his responsibility, if you want. He expresses medicine, the knowledge around medicine. And yes, we have sun, which is healing, music, therapy, the arts. These and even the beauty, the sportsmanship surround Apollo, and also very strongly with the snake. Now, Apollo fell in love with a princess near Dodoni, and her name was Coronis. And maybe this reminds you, corona would mean the what the kings and queens wear, the stemma we say in Greek, the crown, yes. And it comes from this word, and koronis symbolize this, and it brings to mind other associations with something we went through um, lately, a few years ago. So we have the god of medicine, Apollo, falling in love with Coronis, and their child is the figure on the right, and we will see Asclepius, and he is the son of Apollo and Coronis, and with him we see his wife Aegaea, and he had 7 children, all very important, and have played their role in mythology beautifully. Again, the staff of Asclepius and the snake symbolizing health because it grounds, it touches the ground, it changes its skin. And there is also a myth associating Asclepius with the snake is how to bring people back to life. And this was done with a leaf. There's this myth surrounding it, and that's why, because he could bring back people from death, Hades got angry and told his brother Zeus, "What's going to happen with your grandchild? Tell him to stop bringing the dead back." And that's how Zeus threw a thunderbolt at him, and he survived as a deity, as a god. Now, all right. Now, Asclepius also taught medicine to this figure, which is the centaur Chiron. And you see little Achilles riding his back, and they are hunting together. And the centaur Chiron was a wise figure, taught them music, warfare, hunting, but especially medicine, which he had learned from Asclepius. And it is known in mythology that the centaur taught many heroes, like the father of Achilles, Peleus. Um, Jason was another, Theseus, Hercules. All these heroes were students of the centaur. Now, what is interesting in this painting, we see the figure half horse, half man. But if we would go to ancient pottery, we will see, let me just get this, we will see that the figure is painted, designed, the body form, and follows half the horse. Now, it could be a symbolism here. And of course, they're holding infants, or the fathers are taking the infant heroes to their teacher. They will become future mythological heroes. But what makes it interesting that the way this is drawn, and it brings to mind Hippocrates, whose name means Hippo is horse. Krates means to hold, kratao, we say in Greek. So it could be his name, because Hippocrates is 17th generation descendant of Asclepius, according to his biography by Soranos. Which was back in the Roman day. He wrote Hippocrates' biography. So he's in the bloodline of Asclepius, who then trained the centaur. And maybe from this, somehow, these were wise men, this clan of men, this cult of medical priests. And they had knowledge on taming the horses. And this is the symbolism we see with the centaur. But also in the name of Hippocrates, maybe. Now, centaur Chiron, cent means to mint, not to mint, to knit in Latin, and in Greek we say kedal. Avros is the aura, could be explained as the aura. Chiron means hands. So it would in such a way mean he who knits the aura with his hands. Something like a healer. You can, think about it. I like that part a lot. I would definitely want everyone to know what Hippocrates says about reflexology, relationships in the body, how one part is not isolated from any other part, and how everything communicates. And yeah, it's in the conference book, and you can freeze frame this, or we discuss this in the class if you come. When you visit Athens, on the ground floor to the right is the man in the sandal or the hero in the sandal. And it's so interesting because we have the snake symbol inclining, because these were votive, they were offerings to gods for healing, either begging for healing, either thanking for something, some healing that occurred. And this is a 2 meter marble slab. It would have been very, very exceptionally expensive to make. And I believe every symbolism is important. The snake is for health. And for us reflexologists, it is interesting that the right side of a man is depicted on a right-sided sandal. When you visit the Acropolis Museum, have a nice picture, stand in front, think of what we're discussing, think of the information and read the information the Acropolis Museum is sharing, and ponder, enjoy it. In the past, photographs weren't allowed. But yeah, we would do surprise photos and get away with it with some colleagues, European friends and colleagues in the past. In this story, we see in the center a nice painting. Hercules is holding in the air this giant. His name is Adeos. He is the king of Libya. And Hercules, on his way over there, encountered this giant who had a habit of killing any people passing by. And this king was the son of Poseidon and of Ea. And Ea in Greek is earth. She is before the 12 gods of Olympus. She was one of the initial goddesses, primitive goddesses, if you like. Then came Zeus and the other figures. So uh, Athena, maybe you know her as Minerva, her Latin name, Athena, goddess Athena, told Heracles, Hercules, in order to beat this giant who has killed so many, you have to lift him off the ground, cut the connection with his mother Earth. And then Hercules lifted him in the air and, did his thing and beat him. And I like that I see all these statues on the left and right are from European cities, major cities. And I find it so interesting that um, this symbolism of earthing, it hides some message in there. That's what I think. Um, of course, maybe you all know either the calcaneal tendon or the Achilles tendon, and it was Achilles' weak spot because his mother dipped him, Thetida, dipped him in a river, and the part that was outside the water was the part she was holding him by that heel where the Achilles tendon or calcaneal tendon is. And it's so interesting. Rather, let me show you some pictures here of Achilles on the hotel in Corfu. And I love these sculptures. He's so beautiful, and yet he's in pain. And the sculptor has kind of captivated this feeling. On the right, you can see the arrow from which God Apollo touched where the feathers are. And that's how the arrow from Paris went to his Achilles tendon. But also, there is this bone in front, and that is the talus bone. And I want to talk to you, I think, like Talus. Let's see who Talus is. Talus is this robot giant, maybe from a movie back in the day. and it's like it seems like primitive animation efforts, which were great. It's always good watching it. And Jason, the myth has it, passed by Kriti, and there he found this robot, this giant robot. And the only way to beat him, according to his companion, then Medea, was to pull the pin out of his feet down there, where the Achilles tendon is, of course, but also at the same level where we know Talus is. Now, the giant's name is Talus. This giant's name is Talus. And because of this association of Jason pulling the pin from the area, and this fluid exiting the robot, the metallic body of the robot, that's why this bone is known as talus in the Latin and everyday speaking language, medical language. So, and I find it so interesting, and here we see talus again. So interesting that two ancient Greek warriors are protecting this talocrural joint, if you like. And it's so important in reflexology, but also from what I've been shared with by other specialists like physios, the biomechanics around it, and so many other things. Two ancient Greek warriors protecting this area. This has to do with the practical part in the course. Either you come for try, found a great way to, locate these bones here, and we will do this up close. Another, you all recognize the yin and yang, but I want you to know that in the book of Hippocrates, there are 64 books in the collection. On the book titled On Diet, diet here means lifestyle, not only calories in what you eat, though I don't think he would not know of calories, but anyway, yeah, it gives me stimuli to go read a bit more on that, read because he's written a lot on food, but on diet means lifestyle. And here he describes that there are two basic elements, fire and water. And from these two elements come forward four qualities: hot and cold, dry and humid. The combination of these four will give us four elements: earth, fire, water, and air. And this medicine that began this humoral theory was well known to even to Shakespeare, I will mention, as in many of his plays, he speaks of in this language of humors. I remember I saw one play in London and he was going, the women of Windsor, the wives of Windsor, and he would say, you want some humor? I'll give you some humor, some choleric humor, because the hero in the play was bitter at that time. So these elements are translated also into constitutions, character. There are associations with organs, and it was a system used until the 1900 uh, in medicine, because in life we see it on clothes, we see it the elements. These brands, they want to bring in perfume, maybe the earth expression of that perfume or this or that. You can see it in the market everywhere, and even on TV shows, reality shows, the judges are for, and each one of them expresses an element, and the better their combination, their efkrasia, their good mixture, we say in Greece, the better results, the numbers for that show. And other examples are I've consumed myself in observing reality shows, how they do it, and looked into it a bit. But work like Sex and the City, remarkable appreciation by the population around the world. And each character was one humor, and how they balanced out along an episode, along a year, or all the lifespan of this series was due to the good mixture of humors. Another interesting example is Friends. We see the two brothers, choleric and melancholic. And I find it interesting, this combination, that they are the relatives, but we have two sanguine, two phlegmatic, and the way the friends would work around it seems brought these exceptional popularity for them. Underneath, we have this advertisement. Now, it's interesting, this car, their logo has three compartments, like the Achilles, which makes it interesting. And each compartment expresses in total, three elements out of four: land, sea, air. So one is missing, but which one would be missing? And maybe we could assume it's the fire, not assume, we know it's the fire element that's missing, but we can assume this is expressed in the male figure, as in the initial fire-water duality of energy, the yin, the yang, these characteristics, male characteristics, because I acknowledge that females can have male characteristics, or males can have more female. I think the male complements figure the four elements in order to make the advertisement pleasing and successful. Another thing I want you to know is these two women, Greek women. On the top, you see Alexandra Kolovou. She wrote the first book in Greek in 1992, if I remember correctly. Here you see her with members of Greek Association for the Blind. And back then, she made these reflexology maps. You could touch and feel the texture of them, discriminate the zones, because we were trying to make back then training for the blind. So Alexandra popularized reflexology in Greece a lot, and still is her book, that small, simple book. And a very passionate woman. She played a major role. On the bottom to the right is Kyria Efrosini Stravelaki. And she has her school and has definitely made a big impact on reflexology in Ελλάδα, in Greece, through her teaching, contrary to Alexandra, who had the book. And what is interesting, and I want to make a point, that at the beginning of the ICR, she was there. There was this gathering, passionate reflexologists back in the day, 4 or 5 of them, and they said, we must repeat this. And Efrosini was one of those reflexologists back then, and that's how ICR came to life, if you like. And these conferences and this communication began, and getting reflexologists around the world together. But she also did it with the Reflexology in Europe Network, which is now Reflexology in Europe Nexus. She was very active traveling back then. So she's also in Europe, the same thing. At an initial gathering, she was there. She stimulated this. And I think it's important to mention that in Greece, these two people, among many others, but these two ladies have, we can say today, have played a major part in all this. This is for my presentation. All right. So thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed, some knowledge around these topics. Thanks for watching. Yassas, yassas.